In a world where trust is shattered and love is tested, one channel dares to uncover the untold stories of heartbreak and betrayal. Welcome to Heartbreak Chronicles, where real-life tales of infidelity are unraveled, secrets exposed, and lives forever changed. Join us as we navigate the complex world of relationships, offering support, understanding, and a place for those who have faced the pain of betrayal. Subscribe to Heartbreak Chronicles now, because every story deserves to be told, and every heartbreak deserves to be heard. Story 1. My wife cheating on our 10-year anniversary. TLDR, yesterday was our 10-year anniversary. Brought flowers to my wife's office. Found some guy nuzzling her neck and her giggling. Yup, TLDR says it all. My wife and I were married 10 years ago yesterday. She has been working on a big project for the last few months. The last 4 weeks or so she has been putting in extra time, staying late, going in early, to finish up by deadline. This is a career maker for her. I work construction. With the rain we have had, we have crazy hours trying to make up time that we missed. So I work 12 HRS on those days. It's nice, sometimes a little longer. If it's raining when I get up, I don't go in. Some days we get sent home when it starts, too dangerous. I usually hit the gym for an hour or two. Thursday we started at 6 a.m, mid-morning it started to rain hard. We go home. I go to the gym as usual. I cut the workout short and head downtown to see wife Megan, to give her flowers and make plans for dinner that night if possible. We really haven't seen much of each other this week. I went to bed at about 9 p.m, she wasn't home, and called me earlier saying she was working late. Not unusual for the past month. I stopped and got some flowers and went into her building about 12:30. Nishol was at the receptionist desk. I told her I got here later than I wanted. Could she put the flowers on Megan's desk? She said, I don't think they went to lunch yet, why not drop them off yourself? She buzzed the door to get back to the office. The place was deserted. I went to her office, the door was closed. I always walk in unless the receptionist tells me she is in a meeting. I walk in and some guy is standing behind her nuzzling her neck. She is reaching back over his head. She is giggling only as she can, saying we gotta get this done. I am gut punched. I slammed the flowers down and said happy anniversary and walked out. I didn't hear what she said. Instead, Nishol said goodbye and left. Made it to elevators and out the building, then my phone started ringing. I bawled my eyes out all the way home. Went into the garage, pulled my camping gear out of the rafters and took off. I drove about 2 hours to a state park. I had no idea what to do. I just had to run. I hiked a trail we have been on in the past, about a 3-hour hike. I don't drink much, so I had no booze. I just sat there thinking. Looking back, I am glad I was in a rush. Normally I bring a 45 calories. With me camping, we have black bears, which generally scare off, but get aggressive if hungry or cubs around. The way I was feeling, I might have eaten the barrel that night. My phone was blowing up from Megan, so I had turned it off. I left the park to get reception and turned it on to see my good friend called. I called him back. He said Megan called him to check on me, make sure I didn't do anything stupid. We talked a bit, told him I got to think this through, would catch up on Friday. So while I am thinking about this, I go over our marriage from the beginning to see what I missed. We come from completely opposite backgrounds. My grandfather raised me with my mom. He taught me about life. He had a little saying about everything. He told me marriage would be the hardest jobs I ever had. You had to work on it every day. God, I miss him. We did not have much, and heard mom and grandpa having many discussions about bills. They worked hard, and my brother and I did not miss out on anything we knew of. Megan was born into money. Not overly rich but very comfortable. Went to a great college, always had great clothes, a new car, etc. And she is beautiful, 11 out of 10 beautiful. I would joke with her if she coughed about the silver spoon getting stuck in her throat. We met, hit it off, and started dating. I was dumbfounded how such a woman would ever be with me. We dated quite a while before she told me about her parents and lifestyle. Our friends called us the model couple because they thought we were so good looking we had to be models. Families were not as kind, afraid of the differences economically would come into play. Her dad and I started to get along, but her mom took some convincing. She graduates and gets her first job. We plan on getting married. We work out between us that we would expose each other to the lives that we live. I took her whitewater rafting. She took me to the symphony. We went ziplining. We went to an art opening, etc. We agreed we had to experience each other's interests. She was really enthused about the more physical things we did. I kinda like the symphony and such. I own 2 tuxedos now. I look back and do not see any red flags. Her first 2 jobs she quit because the men all tried to get in her pants. She was paraded out in front for photo ops. Invited to conferences when other newbies were not. At dinner at a conference, a partner tried to get her drunk, then tried to force himself into her room that night. She quit. The next job the same thing, quit again. His third job has women as some of the partners, and none of that BS is in her workplace. She seems very happy. We seemed very happy. So now, Friday, I am home. I called her, asked where she was, back at work. I, being in a smart-ass mood, said that the marriage is taking second place to her job. She responded since I would not talk, what was she to do? Fair enough. She will be home in an hour. So I wait. I want to save our marriage. If I am lacking in providing, then I want to fix it. I want to ask why, of course, but I cannot accept an IDK answer. How do I phrase this? What else should I be asking? I know I will get all emotional and forget everything, so over the next few days we will be going over and over this. What she did is wrong, but please no degrading comments. She is still my wife. Thank you in advance. Story 2. Girlfriend slept with the bartender at a work party back in November. She finally broke down and told me everything today, claiming she was taken advantage of. I feel sick and I'm not sure what to do. Would you consider this cheating? This has turned into a wall of text, so I thank anyone who reads. It's probably too much detail, but it's been therapeutic to write it all out. Background. I, 24 male, have been going out with my girlfriend, 22 female, for just over 3 years. We do not live together. We were both living at our parents' houses while attending university, but I recently graduated and now have my own place with a roommate. She still lives with her mom, but we have had a few discussions about moving in together. I work full-time at an office job and she is in class with a part-time restaurant job on the side. She started this job at the beginning of November and was hired by one of her friends. She told me it was annoying that several of the male staff members constantly flirted with her and made inappropriate jokes despite her being in a relationship. This includes the restaurant's bartender. In late November, the staff had their annual Christmas party at the restaurant. It was on a Monday night since the restaurant is closed Tuesday mornings. Later that week, my girlfriend was also supposed to be house sitting, dog sitting for a friend. She had to go feed the dog every day and was allowed to stay overnight if she wanted. We were talking about how we both thought it was hot to have sex in someone else's house, and planned to have a few wild nights when we got the chance. My side of the story. I stayed home the night of the party. I was told it was staff only and I had work in the morning, so I had no problem staying in. I dropped my girlfriend off and I was texting her throughout the night. At around 11 I told her I was going to sleep and said goodnight. I was still up another hour or so, but based on her text she was quite drunk and it was frustrating having a regular conversation, so I didn't want to text anymore. I sent her a message the next morning and didn't hear back until around 2 p.m. when she informed me she was extremely hungover and slept half the day. Even though her mom's house was just around the corner from the restaurant, she said she instead decided to go to the dog-sitting house since it was on the way to the bar that some people headed to after the party. Apparently the homeowners left earlier Monday night. We hung out later that night and she showed me photos of the party. I saw most people bring their significant others, and I was kind of insulted. I confronted her about it and she said she didn't think we were supposed to be invited and that I shouldn't have cared since I had work the next day anyways. We had a minor disagreement but nothing serious. The next couple days were normal, we were happy, and Thursday night I suggested we go over to the dog-sitting house together. She started acting weird and said she didn't want to do that anymore, but we could hang out at my place. We did, watch some TV, and I tried to initiate sex. She refused and said I was being too pushy and went home. I didn't think I did anything wrong and I was frustrated. The next 2 weeks or so were more of the same. No sex, which led to frustration and silly arguments over little things. She started exams in late December and stress was through the roof. Finally, after she finished exams we went out to a party, went home together and had sex. It had been probably 3 weeks, and previously we were having sex about 5 times a week. Over the Christmas break we resumed having lots of sex, but things still didn't feel right. There were lots of arguments. We both returned to work, school, and it seemed like every day there was some new disagreement. And now today, we were fighting about something stupid and trying to resolve it. I made an offhand comment about how these little fights shouldn't bother me so much. It's not like she cheated on me. And then she broke down. She started sobbing and saying that she made a huge mistake at the Christmas party. She said she couldn't bear to tell me and wanted to kill herself. Her side of the story. After the crying stopped, I made her tell me what happened. I was pretty pissed off and yelling because she basically told me she cheated on me a month and a half ago and tried to hide it. This is her side. A lot of it is pieced together from her messages and what her coworkers told her, since she has no little memory of the night. The party was open bar, and she and her friend were hanging out at a bar most of the night. The bartender was another employee who had volunteered to take the night off from drinking to serve everyone else. Partway through the night, he started giving her drinks that she wasn't even asking for. She was having a good time and accepted them. Eventually she got blackout drunk, still pretty early in the night too. She doesn't remember me texting her goodnight, which was only around 11 p.m. At midnight, she texted the dog-sitting people asking if she could go over that night. There was no answer, of course, since they were on an international flight somewhere. Everyone kept drinking until about 12:30 a.m. Around 1 a.m., the bartender drove a group of people from the party to a bar. He returned to the party to drive the last carload of people to the bar. Everyone else had made their way home by this point. He dropped everyone at the bar except my girlfriend. He told the others he would drive her home, but together they then went back to the dog-sitting house. I don't know the exact details of what happened next, but around 3 a.m., she sent a photo to their work group chat. It includes her, the bartender, and the dog in a bed. You could only see from their shoulders up, but they were obviously shirtless. She included a message that said, "I hope everyone is having a good time." I know we are. She insists she has zero recollection of this happening. She woke up Tuesday lunchtime and was surprised she wasn't in her own bed. The bartender wasn't there when she got up and there was no sign of him. She said she assumed she must have decided to go out to the bar after, which is why she asked to stay at the dog-sitting house instead of her own. Apparently she didn't find out what happened until Thursday when she was talking to her friend. She was shown the picture she sent, which was since buried in the group chat. She still insists she has no memory of anything, and freaked out and didn't know what to do. That's why she refused to go to that house with me and why things suddenly got so weird between us. She says she wanted to deny to herself that it happened and didn't want to tell me. After finding out the truth today, there has been lots of yelling and crying, and I'm currently home by myself. My thoughts: first of all, I do believe she was taken advantage of. She was blackout drunk and the bartender was sober. Her coworkers all confirmed that the bartender told everyone he was dropping her at home, and also that he was feeding her free drinks all night. I also believe she didn't remember it happening at first, because there was a definite mood change on Thursday, which lines up with when she said she found out. However, I can't help but feel like she was willing even if she was drunk. I'm hurt and it feels like I was cheated on. It's not like the bartender took her home against her will and assaulted her. She figured out the logistics of finding a place to go with him and looked extremely happy in the photo. Why it still feels like cheating? I was told I wasn't invited to the party when everyone else brought their SOs. She had access to the dog-sitting house a day earlier than I thought. She had brought the key to the dog-sitting house to her work party, even though it was right next to her mom's house. The bartender is a guy who had openly flirted with her for weeks. She didn't tell me what happened for over a month, and had planned on hiding it forever. In anger, I told her that if this wasn't cheating then she must have been sexually assaulted, and that if we don't press charges then at the very least we need to ensure the bartender loses his job. She cried again and refused to do either. Since she can't remember the night, she isn't willing to report him for anything and can't confirm she didn't want it. What do you guys think? I'm an emotional mess right now and struggling to be logical. Do I need to put emotion behind me and support her as a victim? Or is she a cheater? Things were great before this and I had hoped to spend my life with this girl. Update 1. I spoke to her again today and said that there were too many coincidences that make this seem like she planned it out. I told her I needed a bit of time to figure this out, but I didn't think I would be able to move past it. I know drawing this out is probably not the best way to handle anything, but all logic goes out the window when you're the one involved in a mess like this. However, there are still a few updates worth mentioning. We looked at the photo again, and it really looks like the bartender took the photo. There were only 2 coherent messages she sent after I said goodnight, one to the homeowners and one along with the photo in the group chat. She had a few other messages to a non-work friend during this time that are complete nonsense. She showed me an earlier message where her friend said the party was staff only. She insisted she had never messaged the bartender except within the work group chat. She showed me unaccepted Facebook and Snapchat invites from him, and said she didn't even have his number. She was willing to let me use a recovery tool to prove they had never messaged, but I didn't go through with it. She had the key on her keychain since she picked it up from the homeowners. She is so adamant about this that she was checking photos she took of her odometer hitting 100K to see if her keys were visible, but no proof. She said she would be willing to report the bartender to work for sexual harassment, but was still uneasy about pressing charges. She still went through with it and hid it from me, so even if her story is completely true somehow, I'm not sure if I can move past it. Important update number 2. I have decided to side with my girlfriend and support her as we figure this out. I'm not going to pretend everything is fine, and I'm not promising that we'll make it through this. Honestly, I have a feeling we probably won't. But we've been together for 3 years and I believe her about what happened. I think she is a victim even if she didn't handle everything correctly that night. I'm going to support her and try to figure out the full story. I've read every comment in here. I was responding to many with information in these updates, but there are far too many to reply to. Most of the top comments were posted early and are quick to tell me to break up. If you read the rest, they are probably split 60/40 about whether she set it all up or if she was assaulted. To everyone saying that she should break up with me for how I have handled this so far, please try to understand how emotional this ordeal has been for both of us. She came to me saying she made a mistake and that it was her fault, and she hid it for over a month. I only learned all of this yesterday and I freaked out. Story 3. Fiance wanted an open marriage, so I called off the wedding. People are asking questions. Should I let them know why? 2 weeks ago we were 2 weeks away from getting married. She asks me to go to therapy with her. She was already seeing a therapist on her own and wanted me to go with her and have a talk before the wedding where we could be completely honest with one another. That sounded a little weird to me. I thought we were already completely honest with one another. After all, we were getting married in 2 weeks, right? Also, she was super protective about her therapy sessions and didn't really talk about them. I have never met her therapist, so to be invited there all of a sudden seemed a little out of place to me. The day comes and I go there. But out of self-preservation, I had my phone open and recording any audio. My fiancé was already there. I had to wait 20 minutes before I was invited in. The therapist greets me and shakes my hand. We have small talk. She tells me I am not at all the way my fiancé described me. I think she is trying to compliment me. Then she looks at my fiancé and tells her this may be harder than we thought. That absolutely weirded me out. But I am a calm and collected individual, and I don't react, just kept that dumb smile on my face we all have in awkward situations. So the therapist starts talking. Has a small speech I don't care to repeat. My fiancé takes my hand as the therapist starts telling me that we live in a modern world, and that my fiancé wants us to have a non-conventional marriage moving forward. I smile. I am not sure what the hell that means. Through my mind I am thinking she wants to talk about how she will not be a slave to her husband, she will not sacrifice her work life, etc. A modern woman and girl power and all that. Nope, she is actually talking about how once we get married, she wants to be free to sleep with other men. The other non-traditional type of marriage. I forgot it's 2021. But she loves me a lot and would not be comfortable with me having the same benefits, because she would be too heartbroken knowing that I find other women attractive and that one of them could steal me from her. So I let them finish talking. They were very fluent, and they got more confident talking, probably empowered by my lack of reaction, and because I wasn't saying anything. This was definitely something they have rehearsed. I then asked the therapist if she is licensed. This, by her reaction, was not what she expected to be the first thing coming out of my mouth. She said yes. So I told her to explain to my fiancé why we will not be getting married anymore, and why we will not continue being a couple starting immediately. I wished them good luck, and left the office. Now, I want to report to the therapist. I am not sure if I have to report her to the clinic, or is there a board that supervises therapists. I don't think they're planning an attempt to corner me as professional conduct, and I want her to pay for the misconduct. That session did not sit well with me. To be clear, there would have been no positive outcome to this talk my fiancé and the therapist had with me. Even if she wanted a completely open marriage, where I could sleep with other women, the outcome from my part would have been the same. That is not a marriage, that is a sham. It also dawns on me, she might have cheated on me. Now that I have this clarity of mind, certain things don't match up. So I was a fool anyway. I listened to the recording, and I still can't believe what was said there. Anyway, I called off the wedding. I am a very easygoing guy. There are no fights with me because I am not seeking them. There are no conflicts, enemies, because my life is guided on principle and common sense. That might have given my ex the impression I will be easy to walk over, like a doormat, but she is an idiot for thinking that. Having listened to the recording a few times, I am confident the therapist recognized I am not how my fiancé must have described me in their sessions. Hence this may be harder than we thought. Now that the wedding is no longer happening, people are starting to ask questions I am not comfortable answering. How do I navigate this sea? I am sure my ex is doing damage control, but I have the recording, and if she goes too far off the path, I will not shy away from letting people know what she wants us to talk about. But my parents and family also want answers, and I am not sure what BS to tell them. I don't want them to think I am an idiot for allowing my ex to get to this point where she was so confident that she straight out told me she wants to fuck other dudes. She is also blowing my phone, my best friend's phone, my brother's phone. We can work on this. I didn't understand what they were telling me in the therapy session. She will do anything to fix this. It was the therapist's idea. She was against it, etc. Last cry of a dying siren. All her cries fall on deaf ears, and I am the owner of said ears. We were also working to get a loan to buy a house, but I canceled everything. I basically erased any ties we had financially or otherwise. Her current plea is that in therapy she exposed her insecurities about our sexual history. I had considerably more partners than her, and the therapist came up with the idea we should level the field. Regardless of the truth of this, that therapist gets reported once I figure out where to do it and what to say. This post is mostly a rant, but I also want to know how you would handle the questions of friends and family. My ex is certainly doing her own damage control, and I don't want to be a he said, she said. I do have the recording, and am wondering if I should send it to the interested parties. My ex doesn't know I have the recording. Minor update. I am at work, and I just received confirmation the journal has been returned to my ex. I sent it early in the morning with the courier that our office uses, and she had to sign a confirmation order that she received it. I came to the conclusion that reading it will not help, as she never took ownership of this whole situation. Thank you. Jokes aside, it has been an interesting 2 weeks since my initial post. Monday last week I talked with a lawyer at work about the situation with the therapist. He looked at me like I was bullshitting him, and asked me if this was a prank. So I asked him if he wanted to hear the recording. Damn right, was his answer. I talked again with him the next day, at the end of it. He noted a few things I didn't pay attention to. On the recording, the therapist was always saying we think, we want, we talked about, we decided. Not once did she say your ex here asked me to talk with you or your ex wants you to know, or anything like that. It was always we this, we that. He also asked me what my endgame is. Do I want to sue? He didn't think I personally had a case, to which I agreed. I never intended to sue anyway, but notify the appropriate institutions and let them deal with the therapist. A decision was made to write 2 letters. One addressed to the clinic the therapist works at, and one for a PA. By Wednesday there were a few more people at work aware of the situation, including one of the 2 case researchers. She dug up information about the therapist, online reviews, as well as the contacts for 2 of her previous patients. The therapist didn't have the best reviews, there were people upset with her, and we managed to track the 2 we talked with through social media. They were more than happy to help once we explained the situation, and their stories were not any better than mine. The letters grew a consistent size as we included the signed stories from the other 2 individuals, as well as my own description of how my ex changed once she started the therapy session, and a detailed description of how my meeting with the therapist went. Friday last week I met with the parents. Her parents came to my parents' house, and we had a talk. My ex was there too, and more info was disclosed. That made its way to the report on the therapist as well. This week, we sent the reports out. There was a reaction from the clinic. They called our office on Thursday morning, most probably to check if it is a prank or a real issue. We talked with their lawyer over the phone, and, when we confirmed it was legitimate, someone else was heard in the background, on their end, with a "well, crap." They said they are taking this very seriously. A conclusion from one of the guys at work was that they probably received other complaints before, but this is the first time someone did it so well documented. Their letter also mentioned we are reporting this to a PA that might have turned the heat on as well, hence their quick reaction. I don't know what the result of this will be, and I consider my issue with it closed. However, having talked with the other 2 individuals that were treated by this therapist, I sincerely hope she is at least investigated, because she sounds insane and with an agenda. One of the individuals was a woman, for the record. Then, my ex and her parents. Friday last week my parents called me and asked me to give them a visit after work. When I did, surprise, my ex and her parents were there too. My first reaction, seeing their cars in my parents' driveway, was to flee. This meeting was supposed to be on my terms, but she attempted to take the reins to it. That was not going to happen, let me tell you. My ex was waiting for me outside. She looked very good. If there was ever a girl you'd like your parents to meet, she was the image of it. She told me they are here to talk with me and see if we can fix this. They as in her parents. She either never told them what happened, or she gave them a version of a story they were not buying. She had a journal with her. She told me she started writing in it before she began therapy, and continued writing in it until that Friday morning. That I should read it and it will clear out all this mess. I told her this is not a book club. I wanted to go inside and get the circus going, but she asked me if I could give her 10 minutes. She wants to talk with me for 10 minutes before I talk with her parents. And she kept handing me her journal and started crying. And then my sister showed up, and then my ex's sister showed up. They were already there and came out to check on us. So I took her journal, went inside, said hello, and led my ex in the back of the garden to an as isolated portion of my parents' garden as possible. She quit her job. The stress was too much and she had a breakdown. It escalated, never got better. She is no longer seeing the therapist. She started seeing the therapist for work-related matters, but somehow it turned into matters about our relationship, and it stayed focused on the relationship because it was the only thing the therapist seemed interested in. She never told her parents why she is my ex. She is seeing another therapist now. I just listened. She turned the discussion from her to us. Told me I would be in control. I will be managing the finances. I will receive access to all her devices. I will be able to track everywhere she goes. Any property we will own will be in my name. She will do anything I want to trust her again. Basically things she said in her messages over the last weeks. She enumerated more things than the ones I mentioned. I don't know how she thinks that would be a healthy life for either of us. I asked her if she cheated. She told me she had the opportunity to cheat, but she had never. I believe her, but it also angered me. What does she mean she had the opportunity? If you are in a committed relationship, you don't put yourself in a position where you have this opportunity. You don't want this opportunity. It's like saying I had the opportunity to kill someone today. Why? What were you doing when there was such an opportunity? Why call it opportunity anyway? It makes it sound like something positive. That pretty much ended our 10 minutes and told her we should go and talk with our parents. So we did. I asked our sisters to leave us alone, as it was not any of their concern what was to be discussed. My sister huffed and puffed, but a house made of stone survives hurricanes, and she was not one. Well, I talked and explained what happened, how the therapy session went, and my resolve. I didn't mention I had a recording, because I never had to. My ex confirmed everything I said, which surprised me. Her father had teary eyes, and that broke my heart. Her mother asked her if this is how she thinks they raised her, and asked for an explanation. My ex basically told them the same story. Stress at work, depression, breaking down, therapy. Therapist wanted to talk only about our relationship. That the therapist told her our relationship was the root of all her stress. That the therapist convinced her I want an open relationship. That she might lose me if she doesn't level her sexual experience with me. How my reaction woke her up from her slump. She quit her job, is looking for something less stressful. She will do anything I want to get me back. Started crying. My ex mentioned the journal again and said if I read it, it will explain everything, and that she was not on board with the therapist's ideas, but she went along with them because the therapist was a person with authority and experience. Our parents looked at me and I told them someone's private journal is not the type of literature I read, unless they are a dead poet. Big effing mistake. My intention was to relate that someone's private journals usually become literature if they are a famous writer or leader, and usually they are published post-mortem. Also, I was hoping they would get the hint that I don't really want to read her journal, because it would be of no consequence. What was done was done. Everyone looked at me as if I wished death on my ex. You could smell the hostility in the air. So I said fine, and promised I will read her journal. You win some, you lose some, and then you use the wrong words and you lose a few more. My ex is seeing a new therapist. She showed her parents emails confirming her appointments. He's an older dude with a white beard like Freud. I searched for him online. He is married, he attends conferences, he wrote a few books, seems like a solid character. Can you kids work this out? This was the second thing that angered me that day. As if this is child play and we should just listen to the adults. We are not old enough to be in control of our own feelings, and we should definitely not be the ones to decide what we consider a betrayal you can't recover from. We are just kids and we should just work it out. So I won back some ground on the Dead Poets Society remark earlier, and this is how the day ended. We've known each other for 9 years and have been a couple for 5 years. Even if there are legitimate reasons behind her behavior, how do you go back to being the same? This wasn't even a reset. My way of thinking about my ex has been fundamentally changed. She became a stranger I know a lot of things about. Sure, I still find her attractive. Very attractive. The way she looked last Friday was amazing. No denying that. But it was also calculated, so I am not going to lie to myself here. Hair done the way I like it, dress that I bought for her, the shoes I like the most, a hint of the perfume I gifted her, etc. The journal, ... is on my nightstand. I haven't read it, and I probably never will. I did look through it, to see if it indeed is a year old, and it is. The way the page is folded, the ink is clearly older on the first pages, and you can see it progressing through the pages. The pen she used was attached to the journal, and I tested it, it looked like the same ink. And the ink level in the pen is consistent with how much I assume the pen has been used for the last year to write the journal. It is not a fake. Everything about it is consistent with a year's worth of wear and tear. I don't see what good reading it will make me. A tool to play with one's mind. Well, not really. I don't think a year ago when she started writing it she intended to use it as manipulation. If what she told me is right, her new therapist suggested the idea to share the journal with myself. As for how I am handling people that are too curious about why the wedding is off, we had a huge difference of opinion that we could not find a solution to. More or less. But if her sister finds out why, and this is more than likely, because her sister is very close to their mother, everyone will find out the real reason why. Our parents want us to meet again next week. They told me to read the journal, and maybe that helps. Maybe we can work on it. Start again, fresh, since we have so much history. She will get treatment, she will get better, she still is the same woman I fell in love with, but she is not well right now. They can tell I still love her, or else I would not be so theatrical, their words, not mine. I don't think I will meet them next Friday. But, damn, she did look amazing. I would like to thank the community for the support and help. It was enough to help me put together a plan of action regarding the therapist. Thank you to those who provided resources and information about what to do. What should I do with her journal? Return it, keep it and read it 90 years from now.